I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and you get matched down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 here and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Indeed. Buy our merch indeed, a child shall lead them. Here's Ben Webb. Do your kids get paid a living wage to be in your commercial? Ben, we're literally starting multiple businesses that we're handing off to our children so they'll never have to work for anybody a day in their life. Thank you for your concern, though.
Yep. We pay them in pancakes.
I'm glad. This kid is amazing. Ben, I'm sure what we are doing for our kids is what you wish your father would have done for you. Because you wouldn't have to work for the man. My kids are never going to work for the man. And that's because of what we're doing here. And they love being part of the commercials. And they love being involved with what we do. Because we do everything as a family, Ben.
I know.
Whether or not they got paid, they wouldn't care. Because we're a family.
Right.
And we do almost literally everything together. Mm-hmm. Holy smokes. So, inshallah, Ben, when you get a family, you'll be able to have that experience. And I mean that, my brother, because it's aside from marriage, the best thing in the world. All right, dear listener.
Another pick coming at you from the big homie Mike Franco,
yes.
DJ Mike, who is part
DJ
of the
Mike.
Transatlantic Collusion.
Collusion, not collision.
His third song on the list is Millions de Niño.
Oh, so he's been doing the last 3 picks?
Yeah.
The last 3 picks have been his?
Yes, yep.
Shit, man.
Yep.
I forgot. DJ Mike was killing shit too, though, when he had his own
Mike
DJ
and
shit.
Pagan.
These guys are like colluding together. It's unbelievable. It's crazy.
Yep.
All right, guys, here we go.
From El Tree. What is this? El Tree?
El Tree.
All right. Let's go.
And hails to Lord Gumby.
Lord Gumby.
Yeah.
Yes. Hails to Lord Gumby.
Shout out to Lord Gumby. Let's go, guys.
Quisiera conocer a Dios para poderle preguntar, porque este mundo bizarro lo hizo todo al revés. Pues mientras a algunos les dio mucho más de lo que pueden gastar, a muchos otros no les dio ni siquiera para comer. Porque hay millones de niños que no tienen que comer. Existen muchas personas que se bañan con billetes, se bañan con billetes, se bañan con billetes. mueren de desnutrición. El Vaticano parece las minas del rey Salomón. Políticos y diplomáticos pasean en sus Mercedes-Benz, mientras los niños en la calle venden chicles. Y un algo rey de la droga se acaba de comprar un isla en el Caribe para irse a vacacionar. Y es que envenenando a la gente ha ganado un dineral y se ha hecho millonario con la contaminación mental. Y existen muchas otras cosas de las que no quisiera ni hablar, pues creo que a Dios lo que más pena le debe de dar es que hay millones de niños que no tienen que comer. Existen muchas personas que se bañan con billetes, se bañan con billetes, se bañan con billetes. La, 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 la. Wow, 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 yeah. Se supone que el ser humano es un animal que puede pensar, pero esa suposición está muy lejos de la realidad. Pues mientras pestes y plagas azotan a la humanidad, el hombre sigue inventando nuevas formas de asesinar. Y en vez de hacerse la guerra, las potencias deberían pensar en ayudar a tantos niños que no tienen hogar. Porque hay millones de niños que no tienen que comer, mientras algunas personas se bañan en billetes, se bañan con billetes. Millones de niños no tienen que comer. Existen muchas personas que se bañan con billetes, se bañan con billetes, se bañan con billetes. La, 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 la. Wow, 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 yeah. Hay muchas personas que se bañan con billetes, muchos millones de niños no tienen que comer.
Wow.
Deep.
Yep.
Deep.
Yep. Oh, man. This is a... So I told you about how we used to go to those carnivals and stuff growing up as kids, and there would be like this little booth where they would like talk about God and stuff in it. And we always went in. I always went in because I appreciated what the person was doing, and I wanted them to feel encouraged, because I think a lot of people just were like, who are these weirdos? It was like end of the world people, you know? Anyway, they gave us each a shirt. And it was just a free shirt, which I thought was amazing, because that had never happened to me in my life. I was like, I got a free shirt. So they passed out a shirt to each of us, and the shirt, they all had verses on it, all different verses. And I said to myself, whatever my shirt says, that's going to be the verse for the rest of my life. And that's what God wants.
That's deep.
And so I picked it up. It was Isaiah 1:17. Learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed. Ooh. Take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. Good verse. And then this song obviously made me think of that, because I was hoping he was going to go down straight down the line and talk to all of us, not just the politicians and the drug lords, but also to us, because a lot of it, if you break it down, we're trying to do stuff on Amazon, and everything comes down to percentages. So if you're going to sell a product, you have to make X amount more profit, so then you're making a good profit. And, the same is true, I think, of stuff like that, where I just lost it, where I was going with that. The percentages. Oh, so if you're a politician, you make a bunch of money and you do something, like, we all should be doing a percentage, you know what I mean? Like, even if we don't make as much as the politician or the drug lord or whatever, what percentage of our money even is going? First of all, I don't know if anybody knows this, but McDonald's, when you go through, you can say, hey, can you round it up? And they'll round up to the next dollar, and then it goes to the, I think the hospital for the children.
Yeah, the St. Jude's.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's stuff that everybody can do. I mean, the most you'd have to spare at that point is 99 cents. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So, not just talking about the big timers, but like you say too, everybody has to participate in it. But yeah, I was talking to somebody today about the money that we put on wars, and that people are living in the situations that they're in because all of our money has gone away. Like, we were talking about, kids that get taken away from their parents. And she was telling me about this person that they weren't mentally completely stable. Like, they were a little slow. And so maybe made a couple poor decisions, and so they took the kid away from him.
Yeah.
And, he was pretty heartbroken about that. But, I thought to myself, why couldn't there be programs set in place for him to be... He wasn't posing like a danger to the kid. It was just he needed help. So some people would have helped him. You know what I mean? It's not like he was beating the kid up or anything like that. It was just he needed some help. But we don't have enough programs in place, because we're sending all our money off, like he said. We're using this money to build more ways to kill each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm listening to the song, and there's so many things that go through my head. Number one, if we're all just stardust that just spontaneously appeared here for no reason and no purpose, and the sky is empty, and there's no transcendent value to anybody, who cares?
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, what does it care? What does it matter?
You're a pile of stardust, man.
Right.
You're an accidental pile of stardust that just happened to...
I might as well burn as bright as I can while I'm here.
Come out of the primordial ooze. Yeah. So why should I care?
Right.
I asked a very famous atheist this one time. I said, it's all about survival of the fittest and progeniting our genes. So you got this... Here I am, a male at the peak of my powers, who produces very strong, healthy, attractive children, which I've got you and I have a very good stock. Mm-hmm. That's a terminology that the eugenists, who were social Darwinists, used to use. Mm-hmm. We're of the very good stock. I'm of the original man, and Soraya is, and you're also extremely strong. So I said, so there in the middle of a road is a baby with Down syndrome. And a car is coming toward that baby. And it's me or the baby. Mm-hmm. Now, I jump in the middle of that road and sacrifice my life for that baby. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or neutral? I gave him 3 choices. He said, oh, no, that's good. I said, brother, how does that square with your worldview? Because if the entire thing is about passing on the strongest genes, and that Down syndrome child finds his way into the street, this is natural selection in miniature. He said, yeah, but you're stronger. You should take care of the weaker. I said, what worldview is that? I was in a debate with another, it was a moderated debate. I said, my brother, how do we get handicapped parking spaces in your worldview?
Right.
No answer.
I mean, there is no answer.
I'm sorry, but if you compare, and look, this is simply an argument. People are going to take this personal, but it's an argument. It has nothing to do with your personal feelings or my personal feelings or whatever. But I'm sorry, if you put Christians versus people who don't believe in a Christian worldview together, who is doing the most charity globally? It's not even close.
Right. Yeah.
I'm in a running discussion with an atheist brother on me and him are having a sideline conversation. We're going back and forth. And if you look at the history of the world, slavery is the norm.
Yeah.
It's just the norm.
Yeah.
Who was running the abolitionist movement in America? It was Christians. A person can say, well, Christians were justifying slavery using the Bible. Again, slavery is the norm. Christian, Muslim, Jew, otherwise. It's the norm. What is not the norm is people who are benefiting from slavery fighting against it based on their Christian convictions.
Right.
It is impossible to harmonize the transatlantic slave trade with the New Testament. It's even impossible to harmonize it with the Old Testament, to be honest with you. But let's not even go there. It's not even close. Judaism, Christianity, Islam have sadaqah or charity or whatever built into their religious systems. The reason that this brother is upset that children are starving is because he has the assumption that the strong should care for the weak. And he has the assumption that does not assume that we're just accidental stardust. I'm sorry.
Nope.
Nobody who complains about that believes ultimately that they're just accidental stardust floating around in the universe who are going to go back to, nothingness, and that our entire planet's going to go into nothingness when our sun goes into heat death and all this other nonsense that people claim they believe. If you truly believe that, then you cannot be angry that some piles of accidental stardust are experiencing hunger and die quicker and go into the void than you.
Right, exactly.
It's impossible to harmonize. I'm sorry, it is. Now, my brother Sam Harris, he tried in the moral landscape.
What was the best answer you ever heard?
So in the moral landscape, what Sam Harris did was he said, that's true. There's no way to objectively define morality. However, if we can all agree on a premise, then we can create moral foundations out of that. So, for example, if everybody in the house agrees it's bad to burn, we don't want to burn down the house, then we can say it is immoral to leave a stove unattended. That's good. That's solid. The problem is that, and so then he goes, we can all agree on human well-being, or the majority of us can agree on human well-being. And then he said, so if you start with human well-being as an assumption, because we're all Homo sapiens, if you start with human well-being as an assumption, then you can create objective moralities from that assumption. No, you can't.
Why?
And here's why. Number one, who defines what human well-being is? We don't have a universal definition of that. Here's a perfect example. Abortion. Nobody can deny that we're killing a human being in abortion. Yeah. Nobody can deny that. So when it comes to abortion, whose human well-being do we prioritize? Right. Slavery is another one. Right. Slavery is another one. People haven't read the material during the antebellum period, but there was a strong human well-being argument that was made by pro-slavery adherents, many of whom were atheist scientists, by the way.
Wow.
I know a lot of my atheist friends like to say, people use the Bible to justify slavery. Google scientific racism. I've got a quote from you from a pastor.
Wow.
I've got a quote from a pastor who said, I know a lot of you are reading your Bibles and you think these Negroes are equal to us, but the modern science tells us that the Negro is not equal to us. So you cannot say that they're a regular image bearer of God like us. That's a fact.
That's insane.
So we just got to be honest. So there was a well-being argument made. The well-being argument was, look, the scientists say that these people are closer to Neanderthals, okay, than they are to Homo sapiens. We're Homo sapiens. Having these people do slave labor for us is good for our well-being. And if we stop this, all of us are acclimated to a certain type of lifestyle, and you're going to destroy our well-being. Secondly, these Negroes are constructed for hard labor out there. They're not going to know what to do. You're going to give them liberty and shit. They're not going to be able to handle that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So whose well-being do you take there?
Right.
You go into Germany. You had
Wow.
one class of people called Untermenschen,
Yep.
which were the Jews and other people and homosexuals and all that. Like, you just go down the line. So it just completely collapses. Same here. Look, it wasn't Christians who were criticizing Sam Harris. It was atheist philosophers who were saying this is ridiculous. I mean, let's keep going. Heroin.
Yeah, but you
The
can't
guy,
heroin.
he feels, if you talk to the heroin addict,
Yeah.
he's going to tell
We
you,
were talking about the majority.
he's going to say, listen,
Yeah.
this is a quality of life versus quantity of life issue. You can't impose your non-heroinism on me.
Yeah.
So this idea that we have this universal understanding of human well-being is nonsense. It is impossible. If you say that the sky is empty and there is no God, it is impossible to then complain about what's happening. Go ahead.
Especially when you think of all the things that, if you look throughout history, the things that we can judge the previous generations
Correct.
for, and you're like, well, the
Seduct.
mass majority said that this was okay at that time,
Correct.
but now we're like, we clutch our pearls at what they did in the past,
Correct.
even though we're doing stuff that, the future will look to us and be like, oh my gosh.
Nobody, listen, in 150 years from now, after abortion has been completely banned, when people read about what we did to babies in utero, they will say that we are monsters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you do partial birth abortion and all that stuff, when you the details and it's all together too much.
Not even, but if you just go to a dilation and curettage abortion, which is the second most popular form of abortion according to the Mayo Clinic,
Right.
where you tear off the baby's arms and legs with a sofa clamp,
With no anesthesia
you
or anything. for the
eviscerate
baby.
him, and then you depress the sofa clamp on the baby's skull until a white substance exits the birth canal, which was the baby's brains, according to Dr. Anthony Levitano, who testified on the floor of the U.S. Senate. That's not partial birth abortion. That's the second most popular form of abortion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really horrific.
Iceland has effectively eliminated Down syndrome from their populace by the eugenic application of abortion, which, if you look at my initial analogy about the Down syndrome baby in the street, they applied that. So, I'm sorry. Now, here's the thing. This guy's not saying there's no God. This guy is saying God needs to apologize. And I think that is a way more effective argument that lands with me than saying there's no God.
Oh.
When an atheist says all that stuff, like, I take it into account and I say, you're an image bearer of God and that's why you care about these kids. You're living inconsistent with your worldview. Mm-hmm. But when a person who he doesn't say, he starts off saying, hey, I'm engaging with God here. Mm-hmm. And he's saying, you should apologize for this. That is a much different argument and much more difficult to overcome apologetically, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Because I have answers that I've made peace with, but I don't think that those answers can be argued. Those answers have to be experienced.
Oh, wow.
And so the atheist arguments, I respect the hell out of Nietzsche, Bertrand Russell, those guys. The reason I respect Nietzsche and Bertrand Russell, though, is because they were honest about it. When Bertrand Russell says, look, the reality is the only thing you have to hang your hat on, the only scaffolding that upholds a universe is unceasing anguish and hopelessness. That's what he said.
Gosh, which one?
Bertrand Russell.
Oh my gosh.
It's an essay called The Poor Man's Worship. Very, very famous. Well, not very famous, but I respect that.
As famous as like Edwards. Sinners in the hands of an
Well,
angry God.
if you're a Bertrand Russell geek, in high school
Yeah.
I was telling people I was an atheist and all this stuff, and
Yeah.
I was reading Nietzsche and all that, and I was superior to everybody intellectually because you don't even know Nietzsche, you don't even know Bertrand Russell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I love that about Bertrand Russell because he was same thing with the problem of induction, unsolvable problem from an atheist world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I loved him for that. I loved his honesty. The modern stuff, it's hard for me to work with it because it's not as blatant about the ramifications of the worldview. It seems like some sort of like
I see.
attempted-
Like trying to hide
it's like
the obvious.
Yeah, like a combination of the Christian worldview and an atheist worldview without God.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
they're basically, we can have morality. Why do you even want morality in the first place?
Right.
What is morality?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we can have purpose. We can make up purpose for ourselves. Why?
Right. Why?
If you originated from purposelessness, why is there this drive for purpose in the first place?
Exactly.
Everything is random.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. That's why guys like Hoffman, all the rest of these guys are just, they're not going to God, but they're, because it's impossible. But this guy's argument is completely different. He's saying, let's assume you're up there, man. How can you let this happen?
Yeah.
You got these horrible drug dealers they can have enough money to buy an island. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you got kids starving to death on the same island. You got all these horrible things happening to people. You're supposed to be this good, omnipotent, omniscient God. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yep.
I think that is a tremendously powerful argument that you cannot intellectualize away. Mm-hmm. I know, like, again, I always say, like, Christians are going to burn me at the stake. Everybody's going to hate me at the end of this review. I do not believe that there is a sufficient intellectual argument to answer that question. I don't.
Yes, I see what you're saying, because some things are too deep and they're not even looking for an intellectual answer. Like, that's too deep of a thing. So even if you had an intellectual answer, I don't think that it would satisfy the emotion of the question.
Right. That's why I said it has to be experienced.
Yeah.
The answer has to be experienced. Now, I'm not saying that the intellect cannot help, because you have to have that as a framework to be able to interpret your experience. That's what intellect is, right? Mm-hmm. Is that it's a means by which we interpret experience and then apply it to change experiences in the future. But I just don't believe that you can argue the problem of evil sufficiently to intellectually to emotionally satisfy a person. I don't think you can. What happened for me was I had to have an emotional experience that then connected with the spirit and the mind in one moment, right? And that's the whole, immunization thing. But what was going on with you when you were listening? Because, what's his face is complaining that I'm not letting you talk. So go ahead.
Well, I said I was wondering if he was going to go deep enough to go to the part where it was talking about us and what we have to put into it.
Yeah.
So, I said all that. I don't think that, like, he didn't say a lot of words in this song. The message is clear. And I liked the way that he sung it too. Like, it had an earthy sort of feel to it. Not earthy in the sense of walking through the beauty of the forest, but just like you're in the streets, walking barefoot with these children. And then the pictures that were in that video, which, I think that somebody compiled it, but they did a really good job. And yeah, his voice just,
because it wasn't perfect.
Sounded, yes, but that's what I'm saying. It gave it that feel like you were down in the streets as well. And he sounded like he didn't have to live in that world, you know what I mean? But that he felt for the people there. And how is this, like maybe he was brought up in that sort of world, but maybe he didn't have to live in it right then. But the feeling never left him, or the thought never left him of how things should be different. I just thought it was really, really good. And I've always, all of my life at random points, I thought to myself, if I was in this situation, I would hate these people. Like, if I was overseas and I was, in really bad danger and I needed people to help me, to save me, and I knew that Americans were just at home eating popcorn, watching a show. Like there's whole bunches of people that don't even care that you're suffering, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the idea of that.
Yeah.
You would hope that people would be suffering with you as you suffer. And then I think, I'm that person, because there are days, that I think about, the homeless or but there are also whole days that I don't think about that.
Yeah.
How can you possibly think of all the suffering in the world? You can't think of all the sufferings that could be happening in all the countries and all the ways. And how would you freaking get out of your bed? You'd be so depressed thinking about all that.
Yeah.
So it's like putting enough thought into it to know.
And
that,
all the crazy justifications that people come, like, for example, banning abortions will never stop all abortions, therefore we shouldn't ban abortions. So I guess we should do that with sexual assault, because we've banned sexual assault, but sexual assault still happens, so we shouldn't ban that.
Yeah.
How about murder? Other forms of murder, we shouldn't ban that because people still murder.
Yeah.
Insane arguments that nobody would ever hold to if it affected them.
Right.
And by the way, the Guttmacher Institute is a reporting arm of Planned Parenthood. So I'm sorry, but Controller, I would love to have if you're willing to have a debate. Listen, this is very simple, Controller. All you have to do is look at how many abortions we had before Roe v. Wade and after, and then tell me legalizing or banning a certain practice will not increase or decrease that practice. It doesn't work, bro. Trust me, it doesn't work. But yeah, I think for me, first of all, when I hear about starving children, for me, is that whole thing about Elon Musk. Oh, Elon Musk could end world hunger tomorrow if he, and I'm like, no, we could all end a world hunger tomorrow. Now, thankfully, our village is helping a multitude of kids. Every month, everybody on Patreon, everybody that does a DJ stream are helping multitude of kids. And it's not just feeding them, it's getting them an education. We got some kids in South America that
Shoes and stuff
that
too.
basically, once they age out of the orphanage, the cartel takes them or the pimp takes them if they're a girl. My friend Ben, subhanallah, he actually flew over there to get one of these one of these girls.
Yep.
And because one of the girls is about to age out. And then when he got there, they said, well, you have to take both of them. You can't take any of them. And literally the cartel was like 2 days away. He's actually, I can't talk about everything that happened with him, but like the dude literally risked his life to get those girls out of there. And I can't say anything because there's stuff coming out
They
about
probably
it.
said you have to take two because they knew he wasn't going to want to leave and they wanted to save one more girl.
Yeah, but he said he did it as an act of repentance because he was a racist his whole life.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Get me a worldview that motivates that kind of action on a consistent basis. But as far as the problem of evil goes, the guy's got a solid point. And I like okay, so here is the answer to the problem of evil, why God doesn't end all suffering. Is because all of us know that there are times when pain is necessary in order to increase a person's joy. So, for example, you get grown men, the strongest, toughest guys in the world, crying their eyes out, hugging and kissing each other after they win a Super Bowl. And the reason they're doing that is because they endured a bunch of pain to get to that point. And the pain is what made it sweet. We have the same metaphor with childbirth. It's the pain and the suffering and the death to a degree that makes that moment between mother and child something. And I've been an outsider on 6 of those. You're just out. You're outside, man. You know what I'm saying? You as a man, you're outside. There's something going on between those two and I always cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, always, because it's I just to be able to be there and be in that holy moment between mom and baby, like it's unbelievable. And I have my moment with the kid and all that, but there's nothing like it. And so we have that paradigm that there are times when pain equals joy. The problem is that our timeline stops in this world and we don't have a vision into the next world.
Right.
So we know, I can encourage you, like, babe, if you hold on for a little bit, you're going to be holding that kid, you know, and that's what the nurse said. You're going to be holding, you're going to have a baby soon. You're going to hold your baby. Or the guys when on the field, when they're crying or having a hard time, somebody's got a broken bone, somebody's got a torn ACL, and they got to do hella physical therapy, and it wrecks them, but it's painful. But they're thinking, man, if I hold up, once you hold up that trophy, the problem with pain on a global sense is a lot of time we're only seeing the snapshot of the guy in physical therapy. Or we're only seeing the snapshot of the girl in pain. We're not seeing what comes out because God's timeline is not limited to this timeline.
Right.
So he gets to see the joy that child is going to have on the other side, right? Because so God sees that, we don't. So what we do is we say, oh, okay, that's bad though. Because all we see is this timeline. But there's not the thought process of, well, what if there's a longer timeline for that person?
Right. Right.
So you can't criticize the God. You can, but it's illogical mathematically to criticize the God of the Bible for something that happens, but then not apply what the God of the Bible says happens after that bad thing happens. You got to choose one or the other, right? And so I'm saying this intellectual, and it's harmonized intellectually, but again, it doesn't satisfy the emotions because emotionally we're only seeing that part of the timeline.
Yep.
The second plank of that is, okay, Jesus came down and experienced our pain along with us, and God did not spare Jesus from pain even when Jesus begged him to.
Right.
You know, there's a brilliant moment in the Passion of the Christ where Jesus is crying out to God, and they have God's eye as the moon. And he's praying, and then the clouds go over the moon, and then Jesus looks down, and he's got that realization that no is the answer when the clouds go over the moon. And then Jesus gets down on the ground, his face is in the dirt, and he looks up again, the cloud moves away, and then Jesus gets this, one of the greatest moments of all time, close to idolatry. So I don't think about it a lot. But he gets the steel in his face, and then he smashes a serpent, and now he's ready to go to the cross. Because the Father told him, no, but then I'm certain that God the Father said to his Son, the anguish of his soul you shall see and be satisfied. And by his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make many to be accounted righteous, and he will bear their iniquities. I know that he said that to him, and that gave Jesus a steel in his spine. And that's why in Hebrews 4 it says, Jesus, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame.
Yep.
So that's the other paradigm. But where it all came together for me was the first time I took Dorian to get his inoculation, his vaccination. And, you know, I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. One of these days I'll tell the story. Perk, when me and you have our video chat, I'll tell you the story because it's a pretty crazy story. But anyway, long story short, the doctor basically looked at me and said, that guy's never going to be able to have kids. So, like, when I'd be with a girl or whatever, even before I was married, my mom would be like, so, Vinny, you're pregnant? I'd be like, Ma, come on, I'm not doing that shit. I was doing that shit. But I was like, yo, Ma, come on. So I wasn't supposed to be able to have kids. So when I had Dorian, like, first when the test came back positive, I was like, I can't believe this is crazy. And then all through the pregnancy, I was like, okay, she's going to lose the baby. She's going to lose. There's no way this is going to happen to me. There's no way this is going to happen to me. And then, like, he came out and, like, the kid never touched the ground for the first year of his life. And all that kid knew about me was that anytime he cried, I was there. He needed to change, I was there. He was hungry, I was there. Anytime he was uncomfortable, I was there. And then I took him to a place where, you know, it's hard for me now. Like, I took him to a place. I purposely put him in a seat, and I purposely drove him to a place, and I purposely laid him down, and I let those people cause him the most pain he'd ever felt in his life. And I swear, he looked at me, and he kind of looked at me like, yo, how could you do this to me, bro? How could you do this to me? And it was a crazy moment because my entire life, like, I said, I just said to God, like, I had that moment, I said, I get it now, bro. I get it. I understand. Because I went back into reality, and he looked at me for that, and then he just started bawling, and he immediately reached for me. His mom was there, but he reached for me. And no disrespect to her, it's just me and him are just, you know how it is. And he cried into my shoulder and all that, and I did not explain to him anything. I just said, I got you, man. But if I could have talked to him at the, I would have said, do you trust me? Do you trust me? Because I promise you, bro, one day you're going to understand. And that's why I said, like, the problem of evil cannot be reconciled only from an intellectual standpoint. You have to get that reconciliation experientially. You have to.
Yeah.
It's not something you're going to argue anybody into. There's other things you can argue people into for sure. I think easily proving that there's a God and somebody must have designed this is anytime my atheist friend says, well, there most likely is a God. I'm like, yeah, well. Like, but
yeah, those
that,
things are, yeah.
that,
but there's just so
I
much
don't
in that
believe
one.
you can intellectually argue somebody into it.
Yeah.
I think they have to, it has to be done experientially, and it's got to be God meeting with a person. That's just what I believe.
Yeah.
I don't think that those, and I think we make a mistake. I think we make a serious mistake if we don't acknowledge that to our friends.
I do too, but for some reason, every time the question comes up, I always have a difficult time answering it without, like, you take your time with it and you really create a very clear, and I never feel like it comes out that way when I do it.
Well, I think it's because I start with that presupposition. I start presupposing that.
See, I can't do that.
I start
yet.
presupposing that I'm not going to argue this person into a reconciliation with the problem of evil because I don't know what happened to them.
Right.
What if they got touched when they were 4? What if their sister got touched when they were 4? What if they saw a horrible car accident? What if they saw, like, you can't intellectualize that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But only reason I'm there is because I've made that mistake multiple millions of times. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's the reason why. But this song, you know, DJ Franco said,
Man.
I hope you like my picks. I mean, I love them. They're torturous. The picks that you selected were torturous. Well, the first one, the pagan one, was fun.
Wow.
They were great picks, bro. I mean, they inspired some really deep conversation for me. But holy shit, like, but to me, this is what art is supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And I said this in the other review a couple days ago. Like, we have to go to songs like this because this should be on Christian radio. This should be on every Christian station.
I agree, but you can't do that because he dared to question God and say that God should say you need to.
Right,
say
you
you're
need
sorry.
to apologize. Yeah, because God's not big enough to handle that.
No, they would shut that down immediately.
Yeah, if your God's not big enough to handle a song like that, bro, you got to find another God to worship. I'm just.
He's weak.
God is like so in this song, like.
Oh, I agree.
The entire song, top to bottom.
I agree. I just wish, like I said, that he would have taken it a step further and talked about us. You know, us regular people that, you know.
Yeah.
We're not making those big, because that's just the same, you know, the big guys. That if you can point to somebody else, it's like, you know, I was reading this post about a mother that, you know, the father has abandoned her and the baby, and she's having a really hard time. She's been struggling for months, and people, you know, are not coming through for her to the degree that she needs them to. And, you know, she was saying, I resent the fact that people call me a superhero because I'm being a single mom. It's not like that.
Yeah.
She said, and she talked about how difficult it is and how hard it is. And she said, I think that they say that I'm a superhero so they can excuse themselves for not helping me. No, I didn't ask to be she said, I didn't ask to be a single mother. I didn't ask to be a superhero.
Right. Superman's
I need help.
Yeah,
help
Superman's
me.
the savior.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
So you save yourself, single mother.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brutal stuff, man. Brutal stuff.
Yeah, so this one's an 11 for me because, it, you know, I loved what he did with his vocals on it and the way that you felt the song. And like I said, I felt like I was there. I felt like I was in the streets too. And I thought it was done really, really well. And on top of that, the message is very important. And I think it's something that if all of us stop to think about and say, okay, well, what can I do? You know, everybody can do something. It's
Yeah.
all percentages. That's why I said it's percentages. You're only able to do X amount that's feasibly, that's possible for you. But are you doing it or?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right about that. And maybe that's for another song. You know what I'm saying?
What?
Like that part of it. He doesn't have to say the whole thing in the song. Maybe that's for another song. You see what I'm saying? Like,
oh.
But I really feel like we should probably do a Shaq watch along.
Oh, God.
So Controller Minds, you get a free ticket. We'll probably make that whole thing free. But we've got another program that's not going to get banned by YouTube. We could all watch a Shaq together and then maybe have a group chat about it. Me and Controller Minds will try to work out a time and a date for that.
I never saw that movie.
I never saw it either.
Oh.
I read the first chapter
I read the book
of the Shaq. But I think maybe we do a watch along on that because it tackles the problem of evil, and it's not completely pure theologically. I guess all the evangelicals went against it, but maybe we should watch that. What'd you get the song?
I said it was an 11. Very important song. Plus it goes.
I'm tempted to give it a silent count just because I don't want to demote the song by putting a number to it, but at the same time, I really wish this song was on every Christian radio station.
I agree.
I think it's a really terrible thing that. Well, it's not ultimately terrible, but I just think there's times when God's like, okay, I want to inspire a song. Can't use the Christians. Mm-hmm. And we don't even know if this guy's not a Christian. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about this guy. We're assuming he might be a Christian. Who knows? Right. But, it's like, we're going to use these guys. We're going to use Kurt Cobain. We're going to use this guy. We're going to use Marilyn Manson. I know he's horrible, but whatever. We're going to use all these guys, Jonathan Davis, to communicate the entirety of the human experience and where I fit in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
got the life. God paged me. Like, you'll never see the life you want to see. That should be on every single Christian radio station.
Right.
Because if you read the Psalms, it's more stuff like this than the and I'm not going to call it shit. I shouldn't say that because that's elitist bullshit. The stuff on Christian radio, I'm sure God is glorified and he loves it too, but it's reductionist. So I'm going to give it an 11 for that. Christian radio, where are you?
I know.
Having said that, dear listener, Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.